everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to look at harnessing the power of vendor relationships today with United Aqua Group. So I'm going to plow on and we can meet our special guest. So I'll just introduce myself first. So I'm Lauren, I'm a marketing exec at Enable, but there's not much more to know about me. So let's go over to Scott. Hey Scott, how are you?
Lauren, there's so much more about you, and I am fantastic. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
No, it's great to have you in chat as always. So I think we should know a bit about you first, actually, a bit of your background and how you got to United Aqua Group and just who Scott is.
Oh my gosh, well, how much time do we have? A few hours. So my name is Scott Ferguson. I'm the Vice President at United Aqua Group. And I have been in the pool and spa industry for 21 years now, believe it or not. I know I look like that's impossible, but it's true. And I have worked for a major manufacturer in the industry. I've had a wide variety of roles, sales and marketing, just about every customer-facing role that you can imagine, as well as operational type work as well. So here at UAG, as we call ourselves, we're headquartered in Las Vegas. We are, if you don't mind my going ahead and describing what we are, Lauren, we are really, in the simplest sense, we're called a buying group, but we think of ourselves as so much more than that. We're really primarily an investment company on behalf of our owner members. We used to call everybody who was a part of the group members, and that's, by the way, over 300 pool and spa professionals across the United States. And we now refer to them as owners because that's exactly what they are. So simply via buying product through United Aqua Group, our owner members are earning shares of UAG stock, and just as part of a myriad of benefits, financial and otherwise, that they get from being a part of the group. So we have, as I said, over 300 owner members. We have about 265 vendors, which I know we'll talk about quite a bit today. We're all over the country, and we are indeed, at least we certainly like to believe, that we're the most prestigious and sought after group in the industry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that introduction. So
of course.
I think if we go on then, so I guess Scott, today we were looking at kind of the impact of the pandemic and various challenges that that's brought as well as looking at vendor relations. So I know, for example, in the UK, there's been a lot in the news recently about manufacturers not being able to get hold of certain raw materials and the impact that has then on customers. So I guess it'd be interesting to know from your perspective in the States, has that been the same? And yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Yes, it has very much been the same. Lots of supply chain challenges, truly unprecedented demand for swimming pools of all types and kinds, whether it's an above ground pool.
Include me in that, by the way.
Yes, of course. We'll get that shipped right over to you, Lauren, whenever you need it. So you just tell us where to place it.
Okay.
Would you perhaps like a hot tub, or as we sometimes call it, a spa as well? We'll throw that in. Yeah, whatever you need. And all of the accessories, of course, that go with it. Okay. So the demand has been incredible, obviously, with people spending a lot of time at home. They have been focused on improving their home environments. And what better way to do that, especially as warmer weather has approached and is now here, than having a pool and spa in the backyard. So truly, the demand has far exceeded the supply. And we know that there have been supply chain challenges in a number of different industries, and we are not unique. So fortunate and unfortunate, obviously, in a way, it's a good problem to have. But of course, everybody wants the end consumer to ultimately be very happy, not only with the product, but with the timeliness of that product. And that certainly has been a challenge this year.
Yeah, so I guess that goes on to my next question. How have you guys dealt with that?
Yeah, carefully. So one of the ways that we've tried to work through it as best we can is I mentioned that we have 265 vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things that we try to do for our owners is whenever it's necessary, practical, requested, we're trying to provide alternatives and options to them so that they can get the products that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in order to do that, we have to be very familiar with our vendors and their offerings. We have to have great relationships with them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to know that we're going to get the truth from them, that they're giving us the real story about what's available and when it's going to be coming through the supply chain. So challenging for sure, but I don't want to overstate this, but for the most part, we've been able to work through major issues because we've developed close relationships with vendors and we're able to help our owners source some kind of a possibility. It might not mean immediate fulfillment of an order, but at least we are putting them in a position to not terribly disappoint their customers.
Okay, so it sounds like building trust really that's kind of keeping you guys close.
Yeah, it's been huge, and I know that you weren't fishing for me to get into Enable there. I'm sure you weren't, but I'm going to go ahead and get into that because, in all seriousness, it's been key for us. So, one of the reasons that we chose to work with Enable, I mean, the product is fantastic, but we now, all of us, UAG and our vendors, we have the confidence that all the information that we're sharing when it comes to our incentive programs, it's all in one place, it's in real time, it's accurate, the calculations are being done automatically. And so now it's taken something off of our collective plate.
Okay.
So whereas we had to spend a lot of time, emails back and forth, looking at spreadsheets, and let me tell you how exciting that is, Lauren. We have managed to extract ourselves from that world, that manual labor, if you will, by working with Enable and getting all of our programs set up. Our vendors love it. They have access to their program. They can see what's entered. We can see what's happening in real time. Our purchase data is loaded. Therefore, it's making the calculations based on the program information automatically and immediately. And so again, it's just made it so that we don't have that to worry about, along with all the other things that everybody's concerned about right now.
Okay. Well, nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So I guess the next challenge, which I can get on the screen, is the data management challenges. So I've listed a few there, and it kind of, you've touched on a few things, but I know you've mentioned kind of the ability to just accurately calculate your rebates and how key that's been.
Yeah, it's been a very, very big deal. First of all, I know we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but when we were looking at a solution to that manual labor, back and forth, email, spreadsheet conundrum that we were mired in, we were so excited because once we found out that all we had to do, and there's a little bit of effort in this part in the setup, and that's okay. Once we got all of the program information loaded, now keep in mind for us, that was well over 100 different programs. We have 265 vendors, but not all of them offer incentives. We're working on that. So we had a lot of programs to enter. Once we did that, and by the way, with a tremendous amount of help, guidance, assistance from Enable, we then knew that with a couple of quick tests and checks, we knew that, okay, it's all just happening. All the calculations are being made. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to worry about it. It's just happening, and we know that it's accurate. So now, as a matter of routine, all we're doing is an occasional spot check. If a vendor sends over some information, because they're going to oftentimes make their own calculations just for their own records, they have their own systems, that's fine. So if they sent us some information, all we now do with it is open it up and give it a quick check and compare it to what's in Enable. Say, oh, okay, good, we're on the same page, everything's working as it should.
Mhm.
We could even then load that data into Enable. It can stay there, it can be housed there, so
Mhm.
that at a glance we could compare that to the calculations that Enable is making. So the idea is not to even necessarily eliminate and push aside all other sources of data. It's there if you want to look at it
Mhm.
and make sure that everything's as it's supposed to be, but you
Mhm.
don't have to rely on that as your primary method of ensuring that incentives are allocated properly.
Yeah.
So just a big mouthful to say the data is accurate. We can check in real time the performance of any deal that is in place with a vendor. And again, we know that we are seeing that calculation occur in real time immediately based on data right from our system,
Mhm.
connected automatically to Enable.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that leads me on a bit to the next slide then. So obviously, you work with Enable now, but it'd be good to know a bit about how those relationships were managed before. You've mentioned the dreaded Excel, but yeah, how was life before Enable? And then why were you looking for a system? And
Life before, Lauren, it was dark, it was sad, it was confusing. I mean, I'm being a little silly, but it's true. It's now looking back, it's been a year plus since we got started.
Mhm.
It's truly become one of those things where I don't know how we got along without it. I mean, that's really, to me, that's the highest compliment. That's the highest compliment you would give to a team member, is you would say, I don't know how I got along without you. I can't do this without you.
Yeah.
And that's the way we feel about Enable. And again, the team there has just been incredible. I mean, Corey Mans on the success team, for example, and Lukasz Bardzinski and Matt Haynes, our success manager. These people are truly dedicated to making sure that everything goes really smoothly.
Mhm.
I mean, they've just been godsends to us. The pool industry is known for technology when it comes to the products that are consumer facing. I mean, there's all kinds of automation systems and tools that help you calculate whatever chemicals might be needed in your water, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But I can't say that, just generally speaking, that innovation on the so-called back end has really been a major characteristic of our industry. I
Mhm.
think that we're progressing. Enable is something that I'm hoping we start to see widespread in the industry, because rebates and incentives are a very prominent, popular, long-standing part of our industry. And to me,
Mhm.
it's just a no-brainer to
Yeah.
have that tech working for you.
Okay, nice. And I think you've answered it slightly. So you were using Excel, and then what was the point at which you decided to look for Enable?
Yeah, there were a couple of triggers. I would say we had some new people coming on, including myself. I started at UAG in January of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and we were looking for something, all kinds of ways to do things differently, do things better,
Mm-hmm.
and do them more efficiently. So collectively, we were in a meeting and talking about rebates and incentives and so on. And it just became so obvious so quickly that we don't want to do it this way anymore. This way, meaning the spreadsheets,
Yeah.
the emails back and forth, the confusion, the let's look at your numbers compared to not my numbers, and what's the difference between the two of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this collective epiphany that we have to, there has to be a better way. We didn't know what that was at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to find out what it is.
Okay, nice. So I guess that leads me on to the next slide then. So looking at the impact of Enable, really. So we've
Yeah.
got three kind of main things there that I kind of took from what you've previously said. But
Yeah, and a beautiful job on the icons, Lauren. As you know, I'm a huge fan of these disembodied shaking hands. Because it's only the hands that matter. You don't need to have a wrist or an arm. You just want the hands. So that's good. And it has helped us to develop stronger relationships with our vendor partners, and we do think of them as partners. We can't operate without them. Our owners want an incredible array of products. They're loyal to one vendor or another. They want to be able to access all those products. And again, having that confidence in the technology working for us has strengthened our relationships with vendors. Plus, quite honestly, what they have said and given us kudos for is to say, hey, good for you. You're the only ones we work with who have bothered to work with this kind of technology to make, hopefully now there are more and more people taking advantage of it. But when we first brought on Enable, it seemed to be a revelation to our vendor trading partners, where they said, hey, this is great. It's about time, were some of the comments that they made, or this is, wow, we should have been doing this for years, that kind of a thing. So it's definitely helped us in that regard. The calculations, it's pretty obvious. Again, with data going from our ERP system directly into Enable every single day, the calculations are automatic. And then what else do you have here? Accessing actionable data to provide real-time visibility. That's a good turn of phrase, Lauren. That's nicely done. And it's true. And that's actually where our owners come into play, because the goal there is we're in the process now of building a dashboard so that we can show owners in real time how they are accumulating incentives. And for example, okay, Mrs. Owner at UAG, you are close to hitting a particular threshold in order to earn the next level of rebate. Now you can see that in real time. We can show it to you so you can then make a buying decision that is smarter than it otherwise would have been. So yeah, you did a nice job on that slide, Lauren.
Great, okay. So I think that might actually be the end of the slides. Oh no, there's one more. I completely forgot that.
More disembodied hands, yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I guess that the overall aim really of this webinar was to talk about harnessing vendor relations and the importance of collaboration. And I guess from my previous past in sales, I know that typically sometimes this isn't maybe something that people think about. They might see it as kind of, just focusing on my profit and making sure that my bottom lines are looking great, but maybe not even considering the fact that there can be mutual growth if you work together. I think that's quite a forward-thinking approach, particularly for a manufacturer, for example. So I guess, how have you found this in your experience as well? And what would you add in terms of why you think this is important?
It's just been very, very positive. To kind of summarize some things we've already discussed and emphasize, the trust is there because we know the data is accurate. It's all being captured in one place. It's being done in real time. All it takes is some setup work. And again, the Enable team is there to help. I mean, for us, it really started with a fantastic demo presentation from a very nice young lady named Hope Rowe Hartman. She answered a lot of our questions. We then moved on and even had the pleasure of speaking to your Mr. Butt, your CEO. And so that was, it just kept the momentum going. We made a great arrangement between the two organizations about, how long we were going to sign on and so forth. And it's been nothing but positive. And ultimately, the biggest impact has been on vendor relations. Them being pleased to see that we're utilizing the technology, them being happy that these calculations are being done automatically. It's a big load off their minds. It's a big load of work off our plate. So it's really just been sorry for the cliche, Lauren, but it has in fact been a win-win.
I like cliches, it's fine. Okay, well, great. Thanks for summarizing that, Scott. That was nicely done.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
So we'll take a look at the Q&A now. So if you do have any questions, as I'm talking, by the way, do still drop them in. That's fine. We'll hopefully get around to them, but I'll just see see what's coming in.
Okay. First question is, yes, Scott, how did you get to be so wonderful? Well, listen, it's a long story, and there's been some twists and turns, but we'll get to that another time.
Okay, so I guess this is always a $1 million question, but the question is, has the benefit of Enable outweighed the initial maybe cost and also resources as well?
Yes, I mean, truly, without question, that is the question. I mean, anytime you're jumping on board with a new piece of technology, you want to know that it's really going to deliver on its promise. For us, if we knew that we could get through the setup with the support we needed, which, and again, the folks at Enable, Corey, et cetera, just came through with flying colors on that. And they've stayed with us all the way along. I want to emphasize that to everybody. This is not a situation in which you sign up and they spend a couple of meetings with you and then bye-bye, you're on your own. They have been incredible. We have very regular meetings. We have been able to avail ourselves of their expertise at basically any turn, anytime we need any help. It's not like there's an extra charge for that. We're just truly collaborating with the Enable team to make sure that everything is fantastic. So the return on investment has definitely been there. I mean, I would just say that if you think that your programs are too complicated, or you have too much going on, or you're hesitating, you're wrong. That if you think anything's too complicated to get loaded into Enable, we have some incredible programs with multiple layers. We've been able to get everything loaded in, and it's working. So just don't hesitate.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good to hear. The next question is Enable easy to use?
I'm just looking up there for the answer. I don't know. Why do we do that? Why do we look up at the ceiling to get an answer? Anyway, yes, it's been, oh, there you are. Hi. It's been, oh, hey. It's been extremely easy to use. More so than we had even anticipated, because again, we do have some pretty complicated programs with a lot of, if you do this, then you get that types of scenarios. So this is not, for us at least, it's not a matter of just buy X, get Y. It's not, unfortunately, always that straightforward. So it's been, I guess in that sense, surprisingly easy to use. And also, as I've said, there is a set it and forget it, another cliche, sorry, a set it and forget it type of situation here. Because once you get the program loaded in and you have all the parameters worked out, it's all good to go. You really don't even have to touch it after that.
Okay, nice. And I think we'll go for one last question, just in the essence of time. I think this one came in before you spoke about this, but the question is about, are you well supported in onboarding? But I think you've touched on that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I could ramble on about that subject for a long time. Corey Manns is my hero. I love that guy. I don't care who knows it. Lukasz Bardzinski. I mean, I might even love Lukasz more than Corey. At least Lukasz had the guts to try an American English accent with me. Corey just wimped out and wouldn't even try. It's the only complaint I have about Corey. Otherwise, he's brilliant and we love him.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Lukasz has been incredible. I mean, I just feel like we were bestowed with this incredible team. Matt Haynes now. We have regular check-ins with Matt. This is aside from I guess you'd say, the more technical regular meetings, just to make sure that everything's working as it should. And if we have a new program, we need some help loading in or whatever. Matt is now checking in at least once a month as our success manager. And with that, we're even working on some bigger, longer term type things. We are getting the opportunity to chime in on what Enable could potentially be in the future with some additional views and features. And we feel very privileged to be able to do that. So the team, and then yourself, Lauren, I mean, come on. I don't care if it sounds like I'm sucking up. You're fantastic, and we love you. And it's been a real pleasure. I mean, seriously, the whole team has been incredible.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. And I know the team loves working with you guys as well. So the feeling is mutual.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're
right
there on questions. So thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that was useful and interesting, and it was great to hear your perspective, Scott. So thank you very much for joining and giving it the time.
Lauren, it was truly my pleasure, of course. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Okay, peace.